Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Fuller. I'm a real estate broker with eXp Realty and also founder of leavingthebayarea.com. I study migration trends quite a bit, and I've had a lot of people ask me to, kind of what's going on in the market with people moving in and out of California and the Bay Area. In fact, I just gave a presentation earlier this month to a group of about 50 real estate professionals, including bankers, brokers, as well as real estate attorneys. Had some good feedback on it, so I figured I would turn this into an online presentation for those of you who might be interested in kind of learning a little bit more about what's going on in the with migration trends in California and the Bay Area as a whole. A little bit about leavingthebayarea.com. We created this because we've seen a need for folks who are looking to look at different options of moving out of the Bay Area and a lot of times out of state, looking for options on relocation. And if you're fortunate enough to work for a large company that has an in-house relocation department or partners maybe with a third-party relocation company and they're transferring you, of course that company is going to take care of all the logistics of your move and that sort of thing. For the average person, whether it's a working family who's looking to retire, or I should say working family who's looking to move out of the area, for cost of living reasons and look at some different alternatives, or retirees who are looking to cash out on some of their equity and look at some different opportunities. We've put this together to be able to help streamline the process of them being able to, sell their home, help with all the research on the other end of where they're looking to move to, get them in touch with the right contacts, and then help with the logistics of the move itself. So that's really kind of the reason behind leaving the Bay Area. Moving on to the next year. March of 2018, the Bay Area Council, which is a nonprofit organization comprised of local Bay Area business leaders, did a third-year poll, and the question was to Bay Area residents in 9 different counties, are you likely to move out of the Bay Area in the next few years? And you can see here that they did this back in 2013, and a total of 34% of people agreed that they might be considering moving out of the Bay Area in the next few years. When they did this last year in 2018, that number increased to about 46% of people who are considering moving out of the Bay Area in the next few years. And so it was really interesting data to poll that they did is to find out if people in the Bay Area are optimistic about the economy. The question was, how do you think the Bay Area economy will be doing 6 months from now? Now, when they did this poll in 2014, had about 9%, were a little pessimistic about it, felt that it wasn't, going to be doing as well in 6 months. And we had, more than half at 51% felt that the economy was going to be doing a little bit better. As we fast forward to the poll, redone in 2018, about 25% felt that the economy might be doing a little bit better, and went up to 23% of folks who had some concerns the next 6 months. So again, it's important, I think, to look at some of this data to find out how people are feeling in the Bay Area, and businesses and the local governments can maybe look at this to be able to find out how can we make it more attractive and give people kind of a better feeling about, where things are going moving forward as far as, the economy and housing. A couple other, takeaways from that poll, from the Bay Area Council poll, it said that 46% of voters are ready to leave in the next few years, up from 40% in 2017 and 34% in 2016. Now, some people in the media want you to believe that there's a mass exodus happening in the Bay Area, and I just simply don't feel that that's true. When you poll people, you're going to have some people maybe who aren't real happy about the cost of living, or maybe they don't care, for the commute that they're doing that might be, 2 to 3 hours per day. And so they, might feel that, well, we might make a move, but it certainly doesn't mean that all of those people are going to make a move. What it does mean is we are seeing some migration trends, that kind of do follow some of these poll stats. A few other stats here: 52% of millennials plan to make a move in the next few years. 24% plan to stay in California, move up to areas like Sacramento, which certainly is a real popular area for people to relocate to right now. 61% said they'd move out of state. 10% considering going to Texas. Just included that on there because that happens to be the state where the most Californians happen to be moving to, is Texas. And then you have 6% saying, we're basically we'll go anywhere that has that's more affordable with lower taxes. On to the next slide here. So the question is, why are people moving out? Between 2007 and 2016, California itself had a net loss of about 1 million residents, which is 2.5% of the state population. So, the questions are, why are people leaving? As you can probably imagine, the high cost of living and high cost of housing are two of the, the largest components. Then you get a little bit into, the tax situations, as well as traffic congestion. Maybe they're looking to get a better quality of life in retirement. Maybe they're concerned about healthcare. Maybe they'd like to improve their lifestyle, or maybe there's a job opportunity somewhere else, and that's one of the reasons they're looking to make a change. So let's look at here, this graph. Where are people moving from and where are they moving to? So if we look at the top of this chart, net migration between California and other states. Now this is between 2007 and 2016. You can see the largest number of people from California. The orange represents people moving from California to another state. The blue represents people moving from another state into California. So you can see that Texas had the highest number of people moving from California, followed by Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and Utah, and so on. A lot of these states, certainly are in a closer geographic proximity to California, so it's easier for them to relocate to. The majority of the migration of people moving out, we are seeing, stay in the West Coast, maybe in the Northwest, Southwest, or the West Coast itself. And then down here, you're going to see where are people mostly moving into California from, and that's from mostly the Northeast, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Michigan, Connecticut, some of those different areas as well. So for 2016 to 2017, California had a net loss of 138,000 residents. Same period of time, Texas experienced a net increase of 79,000. Arizona had an increase of 63,000, and Nevada had a net increase of 38,000. So now let's kind of look at the migration patterns based on income for that same time period, 2007 to 2016. We can take a look at this heat map here. Again, the orange represents people moving from California to another state. The blue represents people moving from another state to California. So this kind of coincides with what we saw on the previous slide. We have people who are making incomes of, let's say, up to $100,000 in California. Perhaps they're retired, so maybe that's retirement income, but they've got a good amount of equity built up in their property. They're moving to states, as you can see here, like Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Texas, Washington, some of those different areas. So a lot of the folks that are leaving here, are making maybe up to $100,000, $110,000. You'll see that the people that are in blue who are moving from these other states, such as Illinois, such as New York, and some of these other areas, they're making incomes that are much higher, maybe over $150,000 or even over $200,000. So as you can see over here, these are just some local trends that we're noticing. Now, again, this isn't set in stone, but the local trends are Bay Area residents who are making less than $50,000 tend to go to Central Valley or Sacramento. Now, again, residents making over $100,000 are still likely to go to those areas, but this is more of kind of the local trends. Folks making between $50,000 and $110,000 tend to be going to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, some of these other states that we see represented in orange. And then incomes over $110,000 of people coming to California are from New York, Illinois, New Jersey, some other areas in the Northeast. Now let's look at the California migration patterns based off of education. So we have a similar heat map right here, but this represents their education level. So again, the orange indicates people moving from California to a different state. Blue represents people moving from a different state to California. So folks that have, some college up to an associate's degree, in some cases a bachelor's degree, moving to Arizona, moving to Nevada, moving to Oregon, Texas, some of these different areas. The folks that have bachelor degrees, graduate degrees, postgraduate degrees from these other states are typically the ones that are moving into California. So among the 25-year or older set, the state has lost a net of 86,000 residents without a bachelor's degree and just a little bit over 4,000 with a four-year degree. It's gained over 11,000 people with graduate degrees. So what we're seeing, the people who are migrating to California and especially to the Bay Area are typically have higher education levels. Let's kind of drill down a little bit and look at the Bay Area growth. This chart here, California Department of Finance provided this information. We can see here that population growth has kind of gone down since 2015. We had about over 80,000 residents, population growth, and we're starting to see that growth slow down as we get into 2018 right. We can drill down even further and break this down into county. This is annual population growth by county. And you see we got the 5 major counties in the Bay Area here. We see that we in a sharp decline, starting in 2015 to 2018, represented in the green line here for Santa Clara. We're also seeing, for Alameda County, a pretty sharp line here in population growth. So we're seeing decreasing population growth pretty much overall, but we're seeing it more in those counties than any others. San Francisco seems to be a little bit more leveled off here. And to the next slide here, domestic migration turns negative. So again, people moving domestically, staying within the United States, we're seeing a decrease in those trends as well. So we can see, since 2014, 2006, 2015, we've seen domestic migration, kind of turn into the negative. So less people domestically, moving to the Bay Area, as a whole. Migrants moving nearby, talked about in an earlier slide, how people, are starting to move to, some of the areas that were losing residents, Sacramento and adjacent Valley counties like San Joaquin County, the Central Valley areas. We're seeing those now start to, increase in population growth. Now we can kind of look at foreign versus domestic components of population change here. Natural increase has stayed pretty much the same over the years for the 7-year period of time. Foreign immigration has certainly increased, with technology and everything. So 2013, 2015, you start to see that, that increase here up to 2018. Domestic migration, for Bay Area has sharply decreased. So you can see the change here between domestic and foreign immigration here. A little bit more information on the immigration. So we've seen here in 2013, we've seen international immigration continue to increase, and we've seen domestic out-migration, continue to decrease as we get a little bit further in here. As we get into, we'll take a look at the next slide. And this slide is going to talk a little bit about the Bay Area housing units permitted. So what we've seen is for a lot of folks who are looking to, make a move out of the Bay Area, it has to do obviously with the cost of housing. The cost of housing is certainly impacted by the housing units permitted. So if we take a look at some of these major metropolitan areas here, for every 1,000 person increase in population growth, we can see the number of units that are permitted for new housing. As we can see, a lot of these areas like Boston, Seattle, New York, for every 1,000 people, they've got 445, 408, new permits issued, to kind of handle some of that, that growth in the area. The Bay Area is certainly on the bottom of that. For every 1,000 people, they've got 312 permits have been issued. So that obviously, has a big impact on housing and prices and, everything that gets involved with that. So with, a lot of the pressure on some of the local companies in the area to be able to retain employees and to be able to get new employees and be able to pay them a cost of living that makes sense for them to be able to stay. We've seen a lot of companies, move out of the area. So these are some of the larger, companies who have moved. You can see here on the left side, the company. You can see some larger ones like here, Charles Schwab has done some expansion here into other areas like Denver, Dallas, and El Paso. Another larger one, McKesson, which was just announced a few months ago, moved their headquarters to Dallas, Texas from San Francisco. It certainly was a big one. BF Corporation is North Face, moved from Alameda to Denver. But you can see for these ones that moved their corporate headquarters, a lot of them have moved to Texas here. You're going to see a lot of Texas. You're going to see some Nevada, even Sacramento, and again, Arizona and Colorado as well. And some of these companies maybe didn't move their corporate headquarter locations, but they did open up some regional satellite offices, which they're starting to, do some more products and services in. California ranks second of 50 for the least friendly tax state. So again, from a business tax standpoint, it certainly maybe not be the most friendliest, but we can see kind of the impact on companies, what the changes they're having to make to be able to deal with some of the cost of living implications that come. So the conclusion is, California's been losing residents since about 2004. The main drivers for out-migration are high housing costs and, high cost of living. The majority of people that we're seeing, move out are typically a little bit lower skilled, lower paying fields, or maybe they're retired and they're on, some sort of fixed retirement income. They're looking to make their money go a little bit further, maybe in a different market. More people who are moving in have higher income and are better educated, which of course makes sense because, to be able to be brought in here to work, in Silicon Valley or some of the other, with some of the large companies, they have to be, certainly compensated, for the cost of living here. And a large majority of those are, international immigrants. And we're seeing, a lot of the Bay Area, as we talked about on a previous slide, housing creation has really lagged behind population growth in terms of labor costs, materials, permits, zoning restrictions, and things like that. In relation to that, the top outbound states we've talked about, like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, created 231 new housing units for every 1,000 new residents, whereas California, during a 5-year period of time, added just 209. So certainly, there's going to have to be, some changes in policy and certainly, negotiations on cost to be able to make it a little bit more affordable to be able to build here. So hopefully that information was helpful, gave you some insight on kind of what's going on with the markets here, the housing market. Again, we're not experiencing or expecting a mass exodus by any means, but certainly, the dynamics of growth are changing a little bit, and hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions on this, or if you have, any needs looking into the possibility of maybe relocating to a different area yourself, we certainly offer our services to you, and I appreciate your time and thank you for watching. Have a great day.